Your name and where you're from, just so I can get you some levels on you, make sure you're coming through nice and clear.
Okay, so I'm Malcolm Fraser, and I live in Sterndale.
Okay, marvellous.
Is that all right?
Yeah. Okay, so Malcolm, I understand that you are the man who founded the Buxton Festival Fringe, is that correct?
Well, it started really when I found, we came to Buxton as a family one day when I was about to take a job in Manchester and saw the Opera House, which was at the time in a completely sort of abandoned state. And I had been working for the past 8 years before that with the Welsh National Opera. I was very interested in opera, and I got the feeling that the potential of the Opera House, in the position it was, with all that wonderful building gardens and everything, would be a fantastic centre for an international festival. And so I got in a friend of mine from the Welsh Opera, Anthony Hose, who was a very good musical director, and investigated as much as I could what was the situation. And we found out that the Opera House was about to be bricked up. The proscenium was going to be bricked up and turned into 2 cinemas. And this seemed a terrible possible outcome. So we made an appeal to the council, and various local people got on board. And 3 years later, we opened the Opera House with the first Buxton Festival. And in the preparation for all that, I was very keen that we develop a fringe of activities around the central festival. And it was quite tricky, really, to find, with all these things, to find the right sort of local connection and enthusiasm to develop the potential, which I thought was fantastic around here. In the outcome, it's very gratifying. The festival has been quite a big international success, and the Opera House itself is extraordinarily busy and has been run extremely well. And the festival is the Fringe is one of the biggest in the country now.
What sort of things were you looking for? Sorry.
That's all extremely gratifying. But at the beginning, it was a process of sort of edging forward and trying to find out where the enthusiasm would be locally. It actually, in the end, a lady called Sheila Barker, who's a local enthusiast, took on the whole responsibility for initiating the Fringe. And she did great work for I can't quite remember if it was a year or 2 years. This was back in 1979, of course. And she started to spread the idea, and she got quite a strong committee around her, and it took off. And so that was what happened with the Fringe particularly. And the festival, we found some tremendous support, really. The Duke of Devonshire, I approached early on in the process. But really 1976 was when we started to gear up, and the Duke came on board, and in 3 years we managed to open the theatre.
I understand you were big in the... apparently I was talking to Stephanie, and she said that you played a big role in the refurbishment of the Opera House. Is that right as well?
Well, that's what I was saying. The Opera House was the inspiration for it all, and yes, with the fund that was set up by many local people in the end. Councillor Ray Walter, who was one of the councillors at the time, was very instrumental in getting council support, and we raised... a trust was formed and raised quite considerable money for the theatre. The big thing for the theatre actually is it needed. It only had a tiny orchestra pit, and so we had to find the funds to make a an orchestra pit that would hold a significant size of orchestra, and then the place could become viable as a theatre for musicals and operas and things.
And what do you make of the Fringe now? From looking back from when you started it, is it all you imagined it to be 30 years on?
Far better, far bigger, and a lot of imagination, and there's a lot of very interesting acts are attracted to the Fringe. It's a challenge to get it widely enough known so that we get enough public support. The festival itself has fantastic public support. The Fringe, it depends on a lot of seasonal factors. I think if the sun shines, lots of people come out, and the Fringe is able to promote itself because it's going on in all corners and little halls, open spaces. It brings a lot of life to Buxton, and I think we can do a lot of clever things in the Opera House, but it's what goes on in the streets and halls of, in the corners of Buxton, which makes it into a real festival.